Yeah, 40 candidates will be standing on the State House steps at 11:30 on Wednesday to talk about how they are going to participate in a campaign called Citizens for Assembly. Elaborate a little bit about how it came to be.
As you know, Matt, we've just spoken before. I've never been involved in politics. I'm one of millions of people who have been just stirred to action to do something to restrain government that's been out of control. I'm also running in a district that is one of the most entrenched districts in the state, Dick Cody's district in the 27th, where I think Republican registration numbers are not more than 20%. So when I get through the story, when I meet someone in my district and explain to them why they should feel comfortable voting for this Republican, sometimes I get the response, well, great, yeah, I like you, but you're one of 80, what could you really do? And I was always sort of troubled with that. And I did a little research, and I started looking at the roster of candidates that are on the Republican Assembly ticket, and I realized there's a lot of people just like me, saying the same things. Many of us have never run before. Some have run and never won. I think a small handful have been even held any office at all. Marty Marks was a mayor once. Nick Manzanero's a mayor. Maybe there's a county freeholder in there. But generally, you have a group of 40-plus people who have been entirely unconnected with anything that has happened in this state. So I had this idea of, well, maybe we should all kind of combine our efforts and run under this banner of Citizens for Assembly, because if you believe, as I do, what is happening in this country is a peaceful movement of citizens stepping up to take back their government, I think New Jersey is a fine place for this battle to begin. And that's kind of how it started. I just started calling some of them, and pitched this idea, and started to make some sense. Then we decided, well, let's agree to 10 things that we can all agree upon that would help fix the state. Many of this is stuff where people were saying already independently one way or another, and I really just kind of put it all together in one package. And thankfully, what you'll see tomorrow is overwhelming majority of us will be there on the steps. Some I know can't make it because of other engagements, but they're already posted on our citizensforassembly.com website. And, we're looking forward to it. Basically, the short story is we want to offer New Jersey a choice to really change things forever, because together we represent what would be a majority of the Assembly. And that means, so now it's up to New Jersey. If they vote for these slate of candidates, you will have change, and you'll have it right away.
No doubt about it. I'm looking right now, as you mentioned, there's 10 individual elements that go into this pledge. Property tax reform, cutting taxes and red tape, eliminating the undue influence of certain special interests, zero tolerance for the abuse of power, speaking naturally to all of our corruption issues, free choice for affordable health care, pension reform, citizen checks and balances, election competition, choice in education, and stop the violence. It seems like the three common threads that run through this are fighting corruption, the influence of big government, and also affecting, I guess, some common sense conservative reforms in the area of health care. And then we have, I think it's 5 weeks today left until the election. Regardless of where our listeners happen to be from in New Jersey, what can they do after tomorrow to help you and these other 40-plus Assembly candidates win on November 3rd?
Well, the most important thing is to galvanize people to come out to vote, on November 3rd. We are going to have that website. If you are unaware who your Assembly candidate is, you can type in your town name, find your town name, and you'll be able to find your Citizen for Assembly candidate. And, really, I want everyone to be thinking about, Citizens for Assembly, who's my Citizen for Assembly candidate, and what we need to do is ultimately change people's voting habits, because the fact is, of course, we're all running against entrenched Democrats who are all in quote-unquote safe districts, and I think they are in safe districts because many of our fellow citizens they really take the time to know who their candidates are. One of the biggest issues I think that we face is everyone knows who the president is. We all know who the governor is. Many people know your congressmen and senators. If you take a random poll and ask people who's your state legislator, most people don't know. And those are the guys that we need to know who they are, because they're the ones passing the taxes and the spending and the debt that's crippling us. So the whole point of here is to elevate the importance of the assembly election. Let people understand, listen, your vote actually matters. Do a little due diligence as to who your representatives are. And, you know, as for some of you, you may have to vote Republican for the very first time, but know that when you do that, and this, I think, is a very important point, because when you view a Republican as a, sort of a rich white man's party, this group of candidates is very diverse, both in, of course, ethnicity, religion, and, you know, even their professional career. We have owners of small business. We have people who work in large companies. We have laborers. We have professionals. I mean, there are we're all parents, grandparents. I mean, there were semi-retired people. We truly are a reflection of New Jersey citizenry, and I want to be able to connect the dots and say, yeah, in New Jersey, at least this year, if you vote Republican, you're very likely voting for someone just like yourself who gets it. Thing is, this whole group, Matt, you know, except for a few of us who are semi-retired, we all work for a living. Like, none of us are professional politicians. We get it. We know how hard it is for everybody else, and we're trying to get that message out to people that we are one of you. We totally understand. We're not bought by any special interest groups. We're free from conflicts of interest, which, you know, Matt, I've spoken about several times, is one of the biggest problems we face in this state. And if you can summon up the courage to come out and vote for this group of candidates, you will see responsible, affordable government.
No, you're right. I mean, there are first responders in this group, educators, small business people, real estate entrepreneurs. You have everything. It truly is a cross-section of the state of New Jersey, and very diverse, you know, from a religious and from a ethnic standpoint too. So I really do think that it's a great thing, and, you know, on behalf of all the Save Jerseyans, you know, Barry, I know I've told you this before, we really appreciate what you're doing, because you know that I think this is very important, not only to get people together and to focus on these important conservative issues, but also, you know, to make sure that we're contesting areas that are not traditionally Republican. I think it's extremely important. You deserve to be commended for all the hard work you've put in.
I appreciate that. And, you know, this is really, it's kind of beyond Democrat and Republican, because in my area, in my district, which of course is overwhelmingly Democratic, like, I've spent a lot of time in Newark and Orange and other areas which are traditionally Democrat, and you know what? They also feel they're not represented anymore. They know their votes have been taken for granted, and, you know, I'm hoping that feeling that, hey, you can't take my vote for granted anymore, comes through, and we see in November 3rd, you know, people like me and Mark winning in the 27th, or, you know, some of our other candidates winning in districts that are quote unquote unwinnable, to show that, hey, you know what? Everyone's vote's up for grab, and that's so important for everybody.
If people want to learn more about Barry, they can go to your website. It's funtforassembly.org.
Yeah, funtforassembly.org is my personal
That's
website.
your website.
And then we set up citizensforassembly.com, which highlights all the different candidates who are part of this.
Right, and I mean, again, you know, we really encourage everybody to support these candidates, because not only is it going to be important for this election, but also going forward into 2010, which is also going to be a very important year. We really need to grow the movement. Like Barry said, it's not so much about party anymore, particularly in this state. It's about ideas and who's serving the public's interest and listening and who's not. So, Barry, you know, again, we greatly appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck tomorrow. We'll be following it closely.
Thank you, Matt. It's always a pleasure talking with you.